If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson didn't fear foreign powers as much as he feared private central banks. And in 1913, that fear became reality. This is where we are today, a nation drowning in over $34 trillion of debt, printing money out of thin air, taxing its people endlessly, while wealth consolidates at the top and freedom slips away at the bottom. But it wasn't always this way. In the not-too-distant past, something very anti-American was born, and it happened in secrecy. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, let's go back to a time when there were no income taxes, when the government was small, the economy was growing, and the country was having some of its best years, all without a central bank. Before 1913, the United States operated on a simple constitutional system. No personal income tax, no IRS, no private central bank. Through tariffs, that's right, taxes on imported goods. These not only protected American industries, but generated nearly all of the federal government's revenue. America thrived. In fact, many of the nation's strongest economic periods came during this time, without taxing its citizens' labor. Presidents like Andrew Jackson even paid off the entire national debt, the only time in U.S. history that's ever happened. The founders understood the power to tax is the power to control. That's why they feared the rise of any institution that would control money and demand endless taxes from the people. In 1910, a group of powerful bankers and politicians met in secret on Jekyll Island, a secluded, privately owned resort off the coast of Georgia. Their goal? To create a private central bank, one that could issue money, manipulate interest rates, and fund government spending through debt. But they knew the American people and the Constitution wouldn't accept such a thing outright. So they hid it behind a name, the Federal Reserve, making it sound like a government agency. In 1913, while most Americans were home preparing for Christmas, Congress passed the Federal Reserve Act, and with it, the 16th Amendment, giving the government power to tax your income. Two of the most anti-American laws in U.S. history passed the same year. They passed the income tax law before there was even a reason for it. Before the Fed, before the debt, unless they knew what was coming, and they were the ones bringing it. The slow hijacking of America had begun. And in 1913, the destruction was signed into law. That year marked the silent coup, when economic power was taken from the people and handed to private elites. It didn't take long for the consequences of 1913 to unfold. Just months after the Federal Reserve was created, America entered World War I. It was the first major war funded not by savings or tariffs, but by debt. And once the door to debt was opened, it never closed again. What followed was a century of inflation, economic crises, and global wars, all made possible through endless money creation and taxation. The Great Depression, World War II, the Cold War, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, a nation trapped in a cycle of war, funded by debt, paid for by you. Today, your income is taxed before it even reaches your hands. Your savings lose value each year through inflation, and every dollar printed is a debt owed by you, your children, and their children after them. The founders saw it coming. They warned us, not just about foreign armies, but about bankers, taxation, and the concentration of monetary power. I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. Thomas Jefferson. They believed the right to control your money and to keep the fruits of your labor was sacred, that once you gave those rights away, they wouldn't come back without a fight. You are a den of vipers and thieves. I intend to rout you out, and by the eternal God, I will rout you out. Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was the only president to eliminate the national debt, and his fiercest enemies were not kings or armies. They were bankers. What they feared has become our reality. A private banking cartel controls the currency. Your income is taxed before you can touch it, and your nation is buried under a mountain of debt it can never repay. 1913 didn't just create a bank or a tax. It created a system, one that no longer serves the people but controls them. A system that trades productivity for debt, freedom for inflation, and prosperity for endless war. But this message is not one of anger for destruction. It's anger for truth. A righteous anger, because something sacred was taken. And it wasn't taken from the wealthy or the connected. It was taken from you. We don't need violence. We need vision. We don't need rebellion. We need action. Because once enough people understand how this system was built, in secrecy, against the will of the people, the illusion breaks, and the power returns to where it belongs, with the people. Can it be overturned? A lawful path forward. Yes, amendments can be overturned, and it's been done before. Example, the 18th Amendment, prohibition, was repealed by the 21st Amendment. How? A new amendment can be passed either by 2/3 of both the House and Senate, then ratified by 3/4 of the states, or a constitutional convention called by 2/3 of state legislatures, never done before, but legal under Article 5. So, in theory, the 16th Amendment, income tax, could be repealed this way, restoring the original structure of funding government through tariffs, excise taxes, and other indirect means. The Federal Reserve Act can be repealed by Congress. Unlike a constitutional amendment, the Federal Reserve Act is a piece of legislation, not an amendment. That means it can be repealed by a simple act of Congress, just like any other law. What would be needed? A critical mass of elected officials willing to challenge the Fed's massive public support and awareness, possibly a new monetary proposal. Example, restoring a gold standard, issuing Treasury-controlled money, or an alternative decentralized system. In short, Congress created the Fed. Congress can dissolve it. These cases often fail because the system protects itself, but they do keep the debate alive. The legal system hasn't given up all ground, but meaningful change likely requires both legal strategy and political. Some might ask, can this be undone? Can we lawfully reclaim what was taken in 1913? The answer is yes, but only through knowledge, unity, and law. The 16th Amendment, like prohibition, can be repealed. The Federal Reserve, created by Congress, can be abolished by Congress. And most of all, when enough Americans understand how this system was born, they can demand how it must end. If this message moved you, share it. Ask questions. Start the conversation. Because truth spreads faster than fear, and we are long overdue. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment, like, and subscribe.